Yes.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Veembur, and I am currently pursuing my master's in educational psychology from India. First, I want to thank the organizers who provided me with an opportunity to present my research paper. Today, my presentation is on place-based literacy and emotional literacy in a mainstream and alternative school, a critical analysis from a new literacy studies perspective. I have divided my presentation into 7 sections. We'll start with introduction and then go over review of literature, research gap, methods, results, discussions, and implication for stakeholders in education. When we look at the Indian education system, the focus is often on academic performance. Traditional literacy, which is the ability to read, write, and understand information, is considered a medium through which one's socio-economic status could improve. However, theories like multiple intelligence theory, new literacy studies take the focus away from the traditional definition of literacy and widen its scope. So this study focuses on understanding stakeholders' perspective on how schools support and sustain or threaten and constrain place-based and emotional literacy in a school environment. The research also helped to get an insight into stakeholders' perspectives on the significance of emotions and place in both mainstream and alternative schools. We'll quickly look at some of the definitions used in the research. New literacy studies is a theoretical perspective used in the study. New literacy studies provides a new approach to thinking about the nature of literacy, concentrating on what it means to think of literacy as a social practice rather than on skill acquisition. This necessitates the identification of numerous literacies that vary in time and place, but are also challenged in power relations. So, thus, literacy is plural literacies. Uh, a mainstream school comprises of students and teachers in a defined space with defined roles where learning occurs. It is based on a teacher-centered pedagogy where a strict curriculum is followed. Alternative school, children study in a multifaceted atmosphere that involves individuals and community learning across various subjects and disciplines. Place-based literacy is when places and the resources found in the community, both inside and outside the school, are used to teach and learn. This experience allows students to apply the concepts that they learn in a real world scenarios. The goal of place-based learning is to help people feel a feeling of belonging to the community, society. Emotional literacy is also known as intelligence with a heart, is the ability to recognize a wide variety of emotions of varying intensities in oneself and also be mindful of how others feel and respond appropriately. Going over a review of literature, it shows that Indian education became textbook oriented under British influence for both teachers and students, with students being required to memorize class content for use in standardized exams. Learning techniques and behavioral expectations required by the school organizations were also alien to the current students' abilities and were sharply marked off from the community in general. These learning techniques can now be linked to academic tension, test anxiety, and their effects on students' learning processes and mental well-being. These are some of the high priority concerns Indian educationalists are tackling now. Contrastingly, a study shows that Indian teenagers have conflicting um, options on how to carry out a daily life. They can either spend time on schoolwork, which is associated with greater everyday distress, or more time on leisure, which is associated with improved mental health and less general distress, but higher academic anxiety and lower achievement. Um, this study is a qualitative exploratory case study. The various stakeholders participating in the study were students, parents, and educators. 13 participants, including 5 parents, 5 teachers, and 3 students, were interviewed as part of the data collection. Participants had both mainstream and alternative school experience. Data was collected through semi-structured interviews with various stakeholders, including the founder of the alternative school. With respect to ethical considerations, approval was obtained from the Research Conduct and Ethical Committee of my college. Parents' consent, student assent, anonymity, confidentiality, right to withdraw were all maintained during the study. There's very little research conducted in the field of new literacy studies in the Indian education system. The perception of educators, teachers, and students, parents' perception of emotional and place-based literacy has not yet been explored in one single study. The study's goal is to understand these stakeholders' perspectives, including students, on the role of emotions and place in the education system. The research also tries to explore if the role of emotional and place-based literacy are different in mainstream and alternative schools. The central theme that emerged from the result is connection. It was observed that there was a lack of connection in a mainstream school, or the connection was very weak between the stakeholders, environment, and the school. Stakeholders mentioned that school and classroom strength is one of the main reasons determining the premise for forming a connection between students, educators, school authorities, and the community. Lack of connection was also one of the main reasons students switched from mainstream school to alternative school. Connection could be further divided into connection between teachers and management, student-parent management, teacher and parents with their own school experience, and also teacher-student connection, parents-teacher connection, and world outside, and the school and academic performance. Looking at teacher management, teachers shared that the management followed a closed climate approach in the mainstream school. They functioned at the policy and curriculum building level. Implementation is the teacher's responsibility. A child-centric approach is followed in the alternative school, where management is as involved as parents and teachers. The analysis showed that the mainstream school observed a strict hierarchy where management was at the top and the students were at the bottom. Interactions between management with students and parents were limited, except when a child got into trouble or a child was doing exceptionally well, or in case of some administrative work. This limited interaction brought a disconnect between the management with students and parents. However, in the alternative school, it was observed that the management was very much part of the students' and parents' life. teachers and parents connection with their own school. Um, when parents and teachers shared their own school experiences, several of them felt disconnected from their own school, except maybe one parent who did share a great bond with the principal. The rest of the stakeholders did not have any connection with the management. While sharing fond memories from their own school experiences, several participants mentioned lunch breaks, picnics, annual day functions, etc. They could interact with their friends and schoolmates during these times, making their connection stronger. However, nobody mentioned that academic excellence bringing happiness to them. Teacher-student connection, most of the students and parents shared that there is a disconnect between the teachers and students in a mainstream school. When the teacher and student do not form a connection, the student tends to dislike the teacher or the subject and even the school. In the alternative school, the emphasis was on the school's physical, emotional, and intellectual development. When students and teachers share a good connection, it makes learning fun. In a mainstream school, students hesitate to ask questions in the classroom. The strength of the classroom, the teacher, or a combination of both scared the students to ask. This also disrupts their learning. Parents teacher connection. In a mainstream school, the connection between parents and teachers is mainly restricted to students' academic performance. Several families of students who were average or below average in academic performance shared that they feared parents-teacher meetings, since teachers use this as an outlet to complain about the students. Looking at world outside and the school, another sub-theme that emerged was the connection between the world outside and the school. Educators and families shared that the mainstream school was wholly cut off from the world around them and provided a minimum connection between a concept and real world application. Alternative school is part of the community. They're connected to various stakeholders to ensure that students are exposed to various experiences. Now, looking at connection with academic performance, the participants shared that in a mainstream school, the focus is on students' academic performance. This reduces the opportunity for students to interact with the places inside and outside the school. In the alternative school, the focus is on the holistic development of students. Academics is just one part that the school focuses on. This improves students' emotional and physical well-being and even develop intellectually, which improves their academic performance as well. So the findings suggest that people's interaction with their surroundings can help them express themselves and grow holistically. This approach can improve their self-esteem and overall well-being. This also fosters a sense of connection and commitment to the environment. Also, this connection, the connection is fostering the connection fostering is incompatible with the practices that is followed in India, whose sole focuses on academic performance. However, the findings also reveal that the link is vibrant.
Just the time, you have just 15 minutes, so now have 60 minutes. So yes, can you end? The time.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Should I stop now?
No, you have, yeah, so you have 1 minute if you can just end yours. Yeah.
Okay. It was observed that in an alternative school, the new literacy studies perspective was more evident rather than in the mainstream school. But the limitation is that one of the limitations was that in the alternative schools, I did not get hold of parents and families that left the school because the database did not provide me with that information. But in future, studies could focus on that as well, so that you get a holistic finding. And the implication here would be that policy level changes that focuses on lower student teacher ratio, so that there's a better connection that can help in academic performances and also in their own lives. That's all. Thank you so much.